I want to thank you very much for joining me today. As we close our service today, we are going to have a quick conversation with you as we look to 2026 ministry. So the ushers are going to pass out some little guides for our discussion. We like I mentioned, as the service started, you'll have a little bit of opportunity to talk with the people next to you. And so hopefully you can talk to somebody who's not your spouse if you're sitting near your spouse. Not that you don't like your spouse, but you probably talk to your spouse enough. And so hopefully you're close enough that you can talk to somebody other than your spouse. I just wanted to say, as we get started, as they're passing these out, there'll be about one for every adult couple kind of ish here. At the end of this pamphlet, page 9 has some questions. That'll be where the question and answer, you can fill out some questions and answers as we go through the discussion. And then that will be a page you can leave with the ushers as you leave. So I'm hoping Bill and Jim can stand in the back there and grab your page. But the rest of the packet you'll be able to take home if you'd like to contemplate the very great things of life. I'm just kidding. You probably don't want to contemplate all of the details of our gospel ministry together, but if you want to, you certainly can. I wanted just to say thank you for working with all of us this year. That is to say, not just with me, but with every other person here. You know, we have a whole cornucopia, a great amount of personalities and interests and preferences, and we all learn how to not only put up with, but to enjoy each other and our differences as we work to share the gospel. I'm very grateful for a lot of the things that we have done and proud of the work that we've done over the last year, but even more I'm glad for the work that God has done through us. That has just been wonderful to see, the people that have gotten to hear what He has done for them. We've gone through about 10 months of the year, and so we want to talk about where we're looking at as we head into next year. First, a reminder, big picture. We are here trying to bring people of Otsego Plainwell the gospel of Jesus. That is to say, we don't just wait for people to come to us, but we go to them. We were really glad, happy this week to have well over 100 people here to share the gospel with at Mary Wright's funeral on Thursday. And they got to hear us say, you know, Jesus said, I feel all of the terrors, the troubles, the trials of their lives, and I'm going to carry it. And then I'm going to walk out of the tomb so that I can treasure these people forever. But these people were only here on Thursday because Mary committed her life to building relationships with people. Mary had probably more friends than any one of us. Now, that's not to put you down. Maybe some of you have lots of friends. But man, that woman was very committed to being friends with people. She wanted to make sure that people knew how much she loved them and even more how much the God of heaven and earth loved them. And that's why this place was full on Thursday for her funeral. It was pretty wonderful. And we get to do this in all kinds of different ways. A week before that, I sat by a fireside and just said to somebody, what do you think about Jesus? Yeah, I'm not very religious. And I said, yeah, but what do you think about Jesus? And they said, well, I don't know, but I think he changed reality for us. It was really good to be able to talk to them. A few days before that, a woman stood in front of a crowd and said, as plain as day, I want you to believe in the salvation won by Jesus Christ on the cross for all. Friends, this is what we're here to do, right? No matter where you are, to be able to bring people the gospel. And this is not something that we are super clear on what it's going to always look like. And maybe that's a part of our mission, our sense of our mission that we need to clarify. If we accomplish this work, if we do it by God's grace, what is it going to see? But for sure what we would want to see is the people of God in Otsego Plainwell. We want to see not just individuals, right, but a believers, a body of people that has a strong connection together and are working together for a better city, a better community as we have that gospel. Now, what does that practically come down to in day-to-day life look like for our ministry? And so if you look at page 3, you see all of the things that we do in our ministry. Just a fast and short list, right? We've got some of our public services, we've got activities for discipleship, and then things that we do together for our evangelism and outreach. And you can skim through that list. Most of them, they're probably familiar to you because you participate in them, you see them, you know the news about them, you hear the information about them, and you are part of them. And the question we'd like to ask you, question number 1, discuss with your neighbor. How are things going? Come up with a number that summarizes how well our mission and our ministry is going. So if you turn to page 9, the answer page, you'll see there's a little number bar there. And the first question is just to discuss with your neighbor, How do you think things are going in carrying out our mission and our ministry? If you had to put it down into one number, what would that number be? 0, things are not good. We could do so much better. 10, things are amazing. We're crushing it, killing it out of the park. Everybody's blown away by how amazing we are at our gospel ministry. We are doing so well. So if you had to take down all of our mission and our ministry together, what number would you put on it? I know that's a hard question, right? But just give us one number. Talk to your neighbor. I'm going to give you 1 minute to do that right now. What's your number, Gus? What's your number, Gus? All right, thank you very much for talking to each other. I'm really glad to see you all talking to each other. I don't mean to cut it off, but I gave you a minute and a half, minute 45 in fact, and I don't want to hold you terribly long. Okay, the next thing that we wanted to get your input on and hear from you is just to say, okay, here's what that all costs us, and here's what is happening then financially. What would you do if you were in our spot? So the short thing is of if you turn to page 4, here's what that's costing us. You can see we've got two lines there that are diverging slowly. The blue line is showing income, and the red line is showing expenses. And you can see that in the last 4 or 5 years, like most of us, we have rising expenses. I don't know about you, but my budget right now, my family budget, is growing astronomically fast. Just crazy fast how much the expenses are going up, right? We are experiencing the same thing here at church. And you can see there's a growing divergence then between those two numbers. Now you can read through all of the details there. We wanted just to be honest and say, okay, here's what the numbers mean. We have some unrestricted assets. That would be funds that are available to be spent on this divergence. That is just to say, like, you probably have some savings that you can use to spend on extra expenses. So do we. However, our savings won't last forever. And the timeline, the runway of running out of savings is getting shorter right now all the time. The runway is getting shorter. It's hard to say exactly how long the runway is because the length of the runway increases depending on how much the expenses are and everything else, right? But the runway is getting shorter. We've done what we feel like is pretty much everything we can to cut expenses and keep ministry going. But that doesn't mean that we're seeing everything. And so we wanted to ask you, okay, so how would you handle this growing gap between income and expenses? Are there expenses that we could cut that we're not seeing? Is there ways to generate revenue or income that we aren't seeing? So question 2 on the bottom of page 5 simply asks this. Discuss with your neighbor. How would you handle a growing gap between income and expenses? That is for the church, right? And then give us one answer on the last page. So on page 9 there, question 2, answer, how would you handle a growing gap between income and expenses? Give us at least one answer. I'll give you 2.5 minutes to do that one. Well, it's 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Okay, that was 2 minutes there. If we turn on to page 6, we wanted to pass on, share with you a little bit, okay, what do we do about that in 2025, right? In 2025, we took on 3 major initiatives, efforts, to not only address the growing divergence, the gap there, right, but to make sure that we were moving the gospel forward in mission. That is, we took on stewardship as a congregation and personally, growth and renewal of the congregation, and investigation of a merger. You can see our little football field to display the advancement of the various initiatives there. Discuss with your neighbor, based on what you've seen this year, right? It's just being around, seeing the ministry. How do you think that we did this year to work on our ministry? Did things get better? Things get worse? What are we doing well? Share one answer for question 3 on page 9. So just ask your neighbor and then come up with an answer for question 3 on page 9. Things get better? Things get worse? Put it down below. Give you another 2 minutes to do that one. All right, last question. I know, home stretch. You can see the end zone here. So in order to turn to page 7, just in order to prepare for 2026 ministry, we spent a number of months reviewing what we've been doing. We shared a detailed survey for the congregation to discuss. And then after some discussion and analysis, then there's 3 suggested directions for 2026. Again, pursuing growth and renewal, stewardship, but also cooperation. Cooperation with local congregations, multiply our strengths, could help with weaknesses. We all know that there's a lot of opportunity in front of us. Based on what we know, fewer than 1,000 people in Otsego Plainwell attend a church or a part of a Christian congregation. There's no Christian schools. There's a lot of places for the gospel in this community. So, question 4 just says, discuss with your neighbor. Which of those 3 do you like the most? What would you like to work on in 2026? And put one of those answers on the answer page. I'll give you 1 minute to finish that. I know that that's a big question, but I want to make sure I get you out of here in a timely fashion. 1 minute. All right. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to talk with your neighbors. Our hope was that it was not just an information session, but a time for also you to get some insight from somebody other than, your spouse, somebody next to you, and listen a little bit to what they're thinking about. If you are done and you would like to leave this with us, you can certainly leave it with Mr. Winkle or Mr. Harris at the door as you leave. A couple of people, as I was walking around, said, "Hey, can I have some time to think about this? I promise I'll bring it back." I'm going to hold you to your word. Got to bring it back. We did it really fast today just so you'd get it done. But if you want to bring it back, you can bring it back. That is just fine. Be sure to grab two coins, ice cream coins, one for yourself and one for your friend that you want to share ice cream with on the 2nd. So grab 2 coins as you leave. God bless you this week. Have a great week.